This trans movement is an attack on womanhood.
Specifically for girls, and so having a male with a penis in there, it just felt wrong.
When you tried to talk to your school officials about what happened, what did they say?
When I tried to talk to them, they just shut me down and said it was a law, there was nothing they could do, and that I should go somewhere else if I feel uncomfortable.
This is just wrong!
Hello friends, for those of you who are paying attention, this story has been all over the internet. We're talking about these girls, at least 4 of them have come out to speak at Vermont Randolph. So the Randolph, Vermont, Blake Allen and her teammates spoke out when a biological male student used their locker room. Now these girls face heavy criticism, maybe even punishment. So you think about that, right? Here are some girls who spoke against having a biological male who is a transgender woman. Well, transgender, yeah, I guess. So a transgender man who is now identified as a woman is in their room, in their locker room, made them feel uncomfortable, and they spoke against it. So who got in trouble? They did. They did. Not the girls, which they felt uncomfortable, but these school administrations and so on decided to punish them. So how about we take a listen to that? We're gonna hear a 9 minutes video, and I'm gonna let it run for as long as I possibly could, and we're gonna react along the way and have the discussion. Let's take a listen.
We're here in Randolph, Vermont, where a group of high school girls is facing backlash for daring to speak out against a biological male using their locker room.
The school system is failing the volleyball girls. They are putting the trans students' needs above ours because it is one person against the 14 other on the team.
I sat down with some of these girls, and they tell me that they bear no ill will towards this trans-identifying student. But they don't understand why they have to share a locker room with a biological male, and they're frustrated that school officials seemingly have no interest in their side of the story.
It's not fully the trans students' fault, it is much more the school board's fault, and they're failing everyone, not just the volleyball team, not the transgender student. They just want people to be in trouble, and they're not trying to help make a change.
Bunch of tough, resilient young girls that want to see change, and they're uncomfortable, and they're just Vermont girls.
A male was in our locker room when volleyball girls were trying to get changed. After I asked him to leave, he didn't, and later looked over at girls with their shirts off, and it made many people uncomfortable and feel violated. I left as soon as I could in a panic.
I was the first one inside the locker room at the time, and the trans student came in and walked into a separate part of the locker room and went and changed while the other girls were in the main part of the locker room changing as well. As soon as the trans-identifying student was done changing, they came out and stood at the entrance of the locker room for a little bit. A lot of the girls were changing in their sports bras and stuff. A lot of us stated, like, can you please get out? We're changing, we don't feel comfortable with you in here. After a little while, the student did leave, but it took a little bit for the student to leave, and a lot of us were not comfortable with that situation, and it's happened before, and so we want it just to be changed, really.
In a locker room, it's made specifically for girls, and so having a male with a penis in there, it just felt wrong.
When you tried to talk to your school officials about what happened, what did they say?
When I tried to talk to them, they just shut me down and said it was a law, there was nothing they could do, and that I should go somewhere else if I feel uncomfortable.
Wow. So we have the voice of the minority against the voice of the majority being exalted above everyone else, which is really problematic. My thought is, why isn't the concerns of these girls being considered at a much higher level? Why isn't their fears or whatever it is they're feeling in the presence of this transgender individual? Why isn't the school taking this more into consideration? Because these girls just don't feel comfortable. Let's imagine, what if a supposed the R word, right? The RAPE word, right? A supposed individual who wants to do and sexually abuse a young girl and go into a high school and identify as a trans. What standards do we have to determine whether that person is really a trans and is not attracted to women and their lives are not in danger? What standard do we have to judge whether these things are so? So the point I'm trying to say is this is a slippery slope, which their life are at risk here to a degree, even their safety. And when they say they're not comfortable with this, the schools should take their words seriously and do something about it. And for them to give more power to the trans individual instead of the girls, it shows there is a bias, there is an ideology, there is even an agenda behind their decision. And if you were to ask me, it's repulsive. The trans-identifying student guardian insists that her child is a girl and has a right to the girl's space and did not behave inappropriately. That's the problem right there. First of all, we have to be honest. The thing is, when we start living in this delusion, it creates bigger problems, because wherever there is lie, there is deception, there's confusion, and every evil work. The thing is, we know the person is identified as a girl is not a real girl, biologically speaking. And if girls who are real girls are voicing their opinion in protesting what they feel is uncomfortable in their space, that should be respected. Simple as that. There is no reason for us to be placing an identifying person who is supposedly a trans identifying individual above real biological women. Like, first of all, that should not be done. It is not fair. It is not safe for them. Okay, we have to keep in mind, these are recent development. Few years ago, we had none of these issues. And why all of a sudden we can't even identify between male and female and placing the lives of these young girls above trans individuals? When did we go wrong with this ideology? When have we lost our thinking processes to properly judge between right and wrong and good and evil?
Citing another girl on the volleyball team, school officials claim that none of the girls were undressed when the trans-identifying student went into the locker room. The superintendent quoted another student saying that nobody was changing when the trans-identifying student...
That's not true.
That's not true.
No.
Why would the girls be lying in the first place? So these people are saying things against eyewitness testimonies. Like, where did they get their story in comparison to these girls? Why will these girls be coming up with something like that in the first place? Think about that. They have no reason to do that. Just look at them. Do you think these girls are lying?
A lot of the girls were changing, actually.
And when you say they were changing, does it mean like they had their shirts off, they were putting they were in their underwear?
Everyone was at like different points of changing. Like, some girls were already dressed, some girls weren't dressed at all, some girls were like in the middle of changing, like.
So why would someone say that they weren't?
I feel like everyone's just trying to twist the story on us and make us look like the bad people in this situation.
I want to say a word of encouragement to these girls for just having the courage to go forward, because more of that has to happen. If they don't push back against this, I'm telling you, women, for those of you ladies who have fought so much for the freedom that you now enjoy, you got to understand this trans movement is literally pushing and stripping women of their rights, and is doing the very opposite of everything women have sought to do over centuries, to be free, to be able to do the things that they do, to have the ability to choose, and to be respected and loved and cherished for who they are as women. This trans movement is an attack on womanhood, and you got to see that, and it's happening in a very insidious fashion. under the notion that I'm a woman, but in essence, we know that's not really true. So these women are being stripped of their privilege and rights. So trans rights are trampling on women's rights. It's kind of like an extreme way to look at it, but that's kind of what really is happening here.
We're dealing with an issue right now where there is a biological guy that's been using the girls' locker room, and all these people are pushing back against it a lot. Has this happened before at the high school?
It's happened in the bathrooms a lot. Definitely more in the bathroom.
In the bathrooms as opposed to the locker rooms? Yeah. So have you ever been in one of the bathrooms or locker rooms and a biological male who identifies as a transgender student came in?
Yes, but they didn't identify as trans. They said that they were gay, so that they weren't attracted to me, so they were allowed in.
Wow. This is even worse. You see, that's the slippery slope I'm talking about. I'm gonna let them continue. That is crazy stuff.
They said that they were gay, so that they weren't attracted to me, so they were allowed in.
Oh wow, so gay male students have been using the girls' bathrooms?
In the past years, yes.
Wow.
So these young ladies are supposed to just take their words for it? What if a sexual abuser, what if a person who is looking to take advantage of these young ladies come up with the same testimony, therefore they have the green pass to go on to be among these young ladies, these young girls? Could you imagine? I wonder, are these schools ready for the level of abusiveness that could go on against these young women? And not only that, there will be some serious lawsuits as a result. And I think that's kind of what he has to come down to eventually. Somebody's going to get hurt. Like, we're playing with fire here. We're playing with fire. We're playing games. We're playing games and we think this is okay. It's gonna backfire. It surely is going to backfire.
Oh, how did they get away with that?
The school didn't care much to listen to our concerns.
Shame on them.
And then when we did say something, the person, he would file complaints of harassment because I looked at him wrong, and file complaints against a lot of people.
Parents told us that they are outraged that the school district and the school itself would allow such an incident to occur.
Of course.
They're bewildered why a biological male should be allowed in their daughter's locker rooms, and they don't understand why school officials seemingly aren't listening to their daughter's discomfort. They also said that they do not condone any kind of hateful behavior towards the trans-identifying student, and they want the focus to be on their daughter's discomfort.
So I want all kids at RUHS to feel safe, all kids nationwide to feel safe in their spaces where they need to change or are supposed to be private spaces. So we have to get creative as a nation to really figure out how to keep everybody safe and everyone working together. And the hate really does need to stop because that's not what this is about. It's about let's have an open dialogue about how to keep everybody safe and feeling comfortable, because we've taught children to protect their bodies, or we've taught our child.
The thing is, this is the danger of having accepted an ideology that is based on a lie, okay? Men cannot be women. Women cannot be men. So when the minute you flip this role and you accept it as a culture, anything goes. You see, the thing is, you gotta go back and address the truth. Like, in other words, what's happening here, the truth is under attack. The truth is not being acknowledged. The truth is, we refuse to be honest about the conversation and really say, you want to identify as however you want to identify, but the fact is, you're still whatever biological thing, however you were born, gender you were born. You can't change that, and we don't make changes to the system in our schools to put our daughters and sons at risk because of the way you perceive yourself. So what we have to go back to is to put a difference between male and female and accept the fact that people can say and feel however they want, but we must not change laws because of the way they feel. When we start changing the laws to accommodate somebody's feeling and perception, we are putting our daughters and sons at risk. This is the result of believing a lie. And that's what's happening here.
Blake to really keep her body private.
My daughter feels uncomfortable in the locker room while that other student is in the locker room, and that's all that matters is she's uncomfortable, and it's pretty simple. They need to We need to make a change and make everybody comfortable.
That's
The
right.
state it's
That's
the
right.
law.
Simple as that.
But the law, as it reads, has some room for creativity. So let's get creative and let's make that happen so everyone does feel safe.
That's right.
We've been fighting for women's rights as a nation for 100+ years at least. And I think this is just an invasion of women's rights. It's just an
Oh, there we go. You see, isn't that what I was saying? This is an attack and invasion of women's rights all over again. It's just happening from another angle. It's the same attack, right? So women have gotten all these rights, and all of a sudden men are coming in from a different perspective, of course, with a new identity. It's the same thing. And it's like, do we realize what's happening here? Do we realize what's happening here? It's like we have gone from one extreme to another. And he's literally confirming what I was thinking. Amazing. I did not watch this video, guys, by the way. I did not.
I think this is just an invasion of women's rights. It's just in a different form.
And I heard some other people talking about how this has maybe national implications. What are your thoughts on that?
I think it is a national issue. It has been for a while. We saw the Leah Thomas episodes with the NCAA swimming, and so it is a national issue.
Blake says she's not only failing to receive support from the school, she's also potentially facing punishment.
I have harassment, hazement, and bullying charges.
These charges could go on her permanent record, and if they do, they might impact her future college acceptances, whether she can participate in an exchange program, and
I've heard that, and I watched the movie What is a Woman? That's one of the things that Matt Walsh was talking about. When you go against the trans ideology, you can almost destroy your entire future. That means these people have way too much power. They have been given way too much power, and it's time to take the power back.
more. But Blake tells us that she does not regret speaking out.
I'm glad I spoke out because there's still like so much that could be done, that the law could be changed, because now it's national news. He had the right to go in, but like once we said we were uncomfortable, he should have just left. Like it should have been that simple.
Simple as
I don't
that.
want other girls to have to feel uncomfortable about it. I think everyone should be able to just get changed in a locker room that they were born as. Like if you were born a girl, you can go in the girls' locker room, get out when you're done, and it just it should be simple, and it's not anymore.
I've heard a lot of people state that the trans-identifying student has more rights than the rest of us. And like that's a good way to put it. Like they care more about that one singular student.
And that should not be. That's just wrong. That's just wrong. We've given them way too much power. I'm okay with rights, and I'm okay with freedom for them to express themselves. I'm okay with placing guardrails to keep trans people safe and stuff like that. I can understand all of this. But when they come to a point when they are trampling on somebody else's right to exist, you are putting their life at risk, and they're feeling uncomfortable in your presence, and your rights trample all their rights. That's wrong. That's wrong.
Than the rest of the girls. So they're like telling us all to go get changed in the single stalls instead of the locker room. And the trans person can have the locker room while all of us.
What? This is nonsense. You know we've lost it, right? We've lost it a long time ago. This is the outgrowth of a nation who have lost any sense of decency and common sense. We have totally lost our marbles here. This is the result of the wine of Babylon. Literally, this is the wine of Babylon the Bible speaks about. We are confused.
Go into different places. I'm very glad that this whole situation is happening so we can finally get our voices spoken after years, and there's many other different situations with like completely different people, like colleges. I've heard like stuff about this situation happening and the girls were too scared to speak. And I feel like the team's like really brave about doing this because we all knew what was going to happen if we did. The consequences, like if one of us were to get a scholarship, they could find this on the internet and take.
This is the thing you also have to keep in mind. When you make a bold stand for what is right and true, God stands with you and he will fight your battles. So you don't have to worry about your future so much. There's so many opportunities that doors will be open, and you don't know what your future will be a couple years from now. This is why you must stand for truth in the face of opposition. Doesn't necessarily mean there might not be a cost. There might be a cost, but I think not standing is gonna cost us even more. So these young ladies, I commend them big time for having the courage to come forward, because that's kind of what needs to happen at this time. It's more than men speaking against this. It's more than conservatives. Women have to rise against this stuff and begin to call it out. If you ladies don't do that, your own rights are going to be stripped away. Your own ability to exist as a woman is going to be taken from you. It is a serious thing.
Take it away. And so there's many consequences to doing it, but I think it's really important that we're doing it.
So if you had an opportunity to talk to other girls who are at their schools, maybe thinking about talking about this, but they might be afraid, what would you tell them?
I would tell them to speak out to their superintendents, principals. Even if nothing's changed, it gets a point across that you don't like it, and ultimately something could be changed.
That's
So
right.
to speak out, no matter what opinion you have.
Speak out.
Everybody should be heard. And I think that's what the school needs to understand, is that they need to let people be heard, which they're not doing.
Is it hatred and bigotry to say that you don't want a biological male in your bathroom or locker room?
No, it's not.
No.
Not at all.
No, it's about their comfort and their feelings, and you can't deny anybody's feelings.
It's not hatred. It's just we want to feel comfortable. And, you know, talk about women's rights. You know, we should have the right to go to the bathroom without a male in our bathroom.
Great job, Daily Signal, for giving these ladies a voice. I appreciate these young women for taking the courage to come out and speak out against this. That's exactly what needs to happen. Well done, well done, well done. Visit dailysignal.com to give support to the work on the Daily Signal's investigation reporting project. We're awesome. Yeah, so what is your thought and perspective on this? I think I've said enough, but I could close it up by sharing a particular verse coming from the book of Proverbs, chapter 24, verse 23 and 24. But before I do that, friends, I want to tell you, seriously, young ladies who are watching this, maybe you're a woman who part of this channel, raise a voice of protest against this. Here's how some of the trends people have totally won the battle. Let me tell you what has happened over the years. They have been very vocal. They have been. So politicians tend to listen to the loudest voice. You never heard that. What is that thing called? The squeaky wheel gets the oil. So they have been yelling and shouting for rights and so on. And over time, we have sat back and not said anything, not pushing back against it. And we thought that they were just getting their rights and leave people alone. But you have to understand that these people will never be satisfied. They want more. They don't just want you give them an inch, they take a mile. They don't just want to live part in the house. They want the entire house. So women have to begin to realize that their rights are under attack, their womanhood is under attack, and they need to rise against this nonsense and begin to speak. Doesn't necessarily mean we have to hate trans people. No, I don't believe that. I think by all means they should be respected and loved and cared and protected, but they should know that there is a limitation to your rights. There are boundaries. There are some lines you cannot cross. And this right here, this example, if what's happened to these young ladies in the school, the line was crossed. And they have every right to voice their opinion against this. Here's what the Bible says in Proverbs 24, verse 23 and 24. These things also belong to the wise. It is not good to have respect of persons in judgment. So the point is, you cannot say in a judgment of right and wrong. I cannot say, when you're judging between two parties, you cannot say because that person is a rich man or a poor man or a black man or a white man or a girl or a trans. So by having respect of persons, in essence, your judgment will be wrong. What you have to judge is on the basis of right and wrong. But the problem with this is that our culture have lost a sense of morality. They've lost it. They don't know how to properly judge good and evil anymore because majority of them have been getting rid of God. They've been getting rid of God's law. So it's like the standard of righteousness in a nation as a whole has been chiseled over time. And now even to make a proper judgment of good and evil, they can't even do that because they don't know even what is good and what is evil, what is truth, what is right, what is wrong. We don't even know. You see, it goes back to the word of God. It goes back to the 10 commandments. It goes back to a standard of morality, a rule of conduct established by God. Unless we have that as our foundation, we are in serious trouble to even make proper decisions. Now, here is the other thing. He that saith unto the wicked, thou art righteous. So you're saying to the wicked individual, oh, you are righteous. Oh, you're right about this, right? And he says, him shall the people curse. Nation shall abhor him. So you see, the Bible takes this very seriously. Don't place the wicked because eventually the nation are going to abhor those who are placing the rights of the wicked above the righteous. God doesn't like it. And guess what? These young ladies and their lives and their reputation need to be protected. And we need to raise a voice for protest against this nonsense. That's my thought and perspective. Like and subscribe, comment below. I've done talking too much. Make sure you click the bell icon, share this content with somebody else, and I want to hear your thought and perspective on this. Until next time, and as always, remember to look unto Jesus to live by faith. Have a good one. Bye.